Good morning. Welcome to the August 2022 hybrid open meeting. We've got three of us here, one of us far away. Again, it's the 2022 August meeting of the Federal Communications Commission. Madam Secretary, can you please introduce our agenda today?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Good morning to you, and good morning, Commissioners and Commissioner. First, you will consider a second report and order, which would, for today's meeting, you will hear 3 items for your consideration. First, you will consider a second report and order, which would establish the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program to provide eligible governmental and non-governmental entities funding to conduct outreach to increase awareness of and encourage participation in the Affordable Connectivity Program among eligible low-income households. Second, you will consider a third report and order, which would establish the 1-year Your Home, Your Internet pilot program with the goal of increasing awareness of the Affordable Connectivity Program among recipients of federal housing assistance and facilitating enrollment in the ACP by providing targeted assistance with the ACP application. Third, you will consider a notice of inquiry that would examine opportunities and challenges of in-space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, or ISAM, that can support sustained economic activity in space. This NOI would develop an up-to-date record on current ISAM activities and seek input on steps the Commission might take to facilitate ISAM missions, including through updates to Commission rules and processes. Please note item 4, an international bureau matter, item 5, a restricted adjudicatory matter, and item 6, an enforcement matter, as listed on the Commission's July 29th, 2022 Sunshine Notice, have been adopted by the Commission and deleted from today's agenda. The first item on your agenda is entitled Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program and will be presented by the Wireline Competition Bureau, and Trent Harkrader, Chief of the Bureau, will give the introduction.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Harkrader, please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners. I would like to note for the record, for the past half decade, I feel like Commissioner Carr has been looking over my shoulder on my work, so I'm very comfortable with this arrangement here. Good to see you, Brendan. The Wireline Competition Bureau is very pleased to present for your consideration a report and order that, if adopted, would establish the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program to provide eligible governmental and non-governmental entities funding to conduct outreach to increase awareness and encourage participation in the Affordable Connectivity Program among eligible low-income households. I would like to thank the Bureau team for their hard work on this item, as well as a lot of our colleagues in the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, the Office of Economics and Analytics, the Office of General Counsel, the Office of Communications Business Opportunities, the Enforcement Bureau, and the Office of the Managing Director. Joining me at the table from the Wireline Competition Bureau are Diane Holland, who's Deputy Bureau Chief, Jody Griffin, who's head of the Telecommunications Access Policy Division, and her deputy, Jessica Campbell, and Jamil Kadre, who's the attorney advisor most responsible in the Bureau for this item. I'm also joined, very thankfully, by my friends in the Consumer and Governmental Affairs group, Alejandro Rourke, the chief, sitting to my right, and Miriam Montgomery, who is the Grants Management Policy Advisor. And in some ways, I feel like that title really undersells everything that she has contributed to this. She and Jamil and their colleagues have been instrumental in getting us to this point. So I'm going to turn it over to Jamil for the presentation.
Thank you, Trent. Thank you for those very kind words. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. In establishing the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act also authorized the Commission to conduct outreach to eligible households to enroll in the Affordable Connectivity Program, including by providing grants to outreach partners. In January 2022, the Commission in the Affordable Connectivity Program report and order and further notice of proposed rulemaking allocated up to $100 million of the ACP budget for outreach, including any grants to be spent over 5 years. In the further notice, the Commission also sought comment on how to structure an ACP outreach grant program. This report and order, if adopted, would establish the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program to provide eligible governmental and non-governmental entities funding to conduct outreach to increase awareness of and encourage participation in the Affordable Connectivity Program among eligible low-income households. The Outreach Grant Program would support a wide range of activities, including but not limited to in-person events, literature campaigns, digital campaigns, and paid media campaigns to provide meaningful, effective, affordable connectivity program outreach tailored to targeted communities. The report and order would provide structure for the Outreach Grant Program, adopt and implement federal grant regulations, and direct the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, or CGB, to develop, administer, and manage the program in coordination with the Wireline Competition Bureau and the Office of the Managing Director, including developing one or more notices of funding opportunity, outlining the application process and program requirements. The report and order would also allocate grant funding to eligible entities participating in the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program, which will be considered by the Commission after this item, and the ACP Digital Navigator pilot program. The report and order also allocates a portion of the program budget to fund outreach for every state and U.S. territory, as well as for tribal governments and organizations. The report and order would allow CGB to make grant awards until the Affordable Connectivity Program's end is announced or until all grant funding allocated for the Outreach Grant Program is dispersed, whichever comes first. Finally, the report and order would establish safeguards against waste, fraud, and abuse for the Outreach Grant Program and require periodic reporting by grant fund recipients and a final report by the Commission detailing the results of the Outreach Grant Program and summarizing any lessons learned. The Bureau recommends adoption of the report and order and requests editorial privileges. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now hear comments from the bench, or actually more accurately from the screen. So we'll start with Commissioner Carr.
Thank you. It's so good to see you all up there. You look great from this perspective. And I'll turn to my meeting statement here. You know, look, over the last 2 years, Congress has made an historic commitment to extending high-speed internet service to every American. Part of that effort has involved appropriating new funding that enables the FCC to tackle the affordability portion of the digital divide. At the FCC, we've worked quickly and collaboratively to achieve that goal. In fact, many of the people you see on the dais right now have been working nearly around the clock on work to stand up those programs. So my thanks and appreciation goes out to them. Today, we're coming together again to further implement Congress's vision for the ACP by establishing a new grant program that will bolster efforts to ensure that the families Congress intended to benefit from these discounts are, in fact, empowered to participate. I want to express my thanks and appreciation at the start to Chairwoman Rosenworcel and my colleagues for agreeing to incorporate suggestions that I offered into this item before us today. I'm a little biased, but I think they help to improve the item. First, I've long expressed the view that we must remain singularly focused on families that still remain unconnected today. Those that have not yet adopted broadband must be our top priority. And that's why I'm pleased that today's decision now determines that we will prioritize applications that target households that are on no internet plan at all. Second, I'm very pleased that we're now including a $10 million set aside for bolstering ACP participation among people living on tribal lands. After all, I've seen firsthand the challenges that still remain when it comes to ending the digital divide on tribal lands, including on a visit last year to the Coeur d'Alene Reservation, where I met with tribal leaders to discuss expanding participation in the ACP program. So I'm glad that we're now dedicating funding to make long overdue progress on this issue. Third, we now ensure an equitable distribution of funding by establishing a set minimum amount of funding that will be allocated evenly to every state. Fourth, I'm also pleased that the order now includes a number of measures to help maximize the impact of the program, such as putting caps on administrative expenses and committing to using objective measures. Finally, I'm glad that we're incorporating some additional measures that are designed to promote transparency and accountability, including prohibiting undisclosed subrecipients. These edits will help maximize the odds that we can achieve Congress's goals with the ACP initiative. But going forward, it's going to be important for the agency to remain vigilant as it selects and oversees grantees, including through the NOFO process that we frame up here today. Again, I'd like to thank Chairwoman Rosenworcel for bringing this item forward, for working alongside me and my colleagues to incorporate feedback into the order. Thanks, obviously, to Trent and his team. Trent is one of the all-stars at the FCC that really makes this place productive and function, and again, has played a key role in standing up ACP and so many other programs that we're making progress on now. So thanks to Trent and the team for working with us. Thanks to Chairwoman Rosenworcel for all her work on this item and leadership on it. The item has my support. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr, for your words and your engagement on this issue. Now we'll turn to Commissioner Starks.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The Affordable Connectivity Program has achieved significant results this year. Over 13 million eligible households have signed up to receive discounted or free broadband. This growth is, of course, worth celebrating, even more so because outreach and development has been organic, without a separately funded FCC outreach effort. That changes today. I'm excited to vote for this item establishing the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program. It has my strong support for a number of reasons. First, we will be funding outreach to diverse populations, persons with disabilities, individuals living in rural or tribal communities, and those who have been historically underserved, marginalized, or adversely affected by poverty or inequality. I have long called for outreach to these communities in past statement speeches, and I'm glad to see this item reflects that. These communities may not yet be aware of ACP, may be skeptical. To reach them, we need exactly this type of targeted outreach. But to be most effective, we need to support organizations and groups that are grounded in these communities. Specifically, we must ensure that media and other outreach organizations have real experience and expertise working with low-income people and communities of color. This is critical because we must close any perceived trust gap that currently exists with many of the diverse populations that this grant program is designed to reach. Make no mistake, both the message and the messenger matter here. Of course, many broadband providers have been promoting ACP to their customers and potential customers as well, and they should be commended. This is not the opportunity for them to take their foot off the gas, not even close. We are all full speed ahead. The grant program will complement these efforts, and we all need to work together to get the word out. Second, grants are an integral part of, as we heard, what we'll talk about here in a moment here, the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program. The pilot program will be giving out $5 million in grant funding to pilot program participants focused on increasing awareness and enrollment among households receiving federal housing assistance. It is important that we have the grant process up and running as quickly as possible to support all of the important ongoing work for those interested in the pilot program. Third, I have heard from countless advocates, and I see a number of them in here today. Over the years, advocates, broadband providers, community leaders on how we can do better in reaching unconnected households. What I'm really excited about here is that you all are going to be able, this is your opportunity to become full-fledged partners with us and help execute all of the great ideas that I have heard for so long. So let's go. Apply to participate. Let's partner up and close the digital divide, of course, together. Thank you to the chairwoman, to the staff for their work. It has my full support.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Commissioner Symington.
Thank you. Historically, uptake of our affordability programs has been fraught. Hoping to avoid a similar fate for ACP, Congress directed us to set aside a portion of ACP funds for outreach efforts. I'm happy to support the $100 million grant program we are creating today. There's always the risk that grant winners misspend their awards, but this item is full of safeguards and reporting requirements that will help prevent that abuse and detect it when it happens. The most crucial factors for the success of this program, however, will be the creativity and diligence of grant applicants on the one hand, and the careful eye of the FCC staff that will choose and supervise the winners on the other. I'm hopeful that they will make this program a success. So thanks very much to the staff of Wireline Bureau for their hard work on preparing this item.
Thank you, commissioners. There are now 13 million households nationwide that subscribe to the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's the largest ever broadband affordability effort in the United States. Now, I want to tell you about one of those households. Tiffany White is a mom and a North Carolinian through and through. I met her when I got to travel with the vice president to Charlotte the week before last. Now, Tiffany told me how she enrolled in a class at Queen's University that provided instructions on the basics of information technology. The class also put her in touch with the Center for Digital Equity at the school. The center let her know about the Affordable Connectivity Program, and she signed her household right up. Right away, it made a difference. She stuck with her online college classes. She could work remotely. It helped with paying the bills. And the best part is her connection with the Affordable Connectivity Program did not end when she started receiving the benefit, because she now serves as a regional digital equity navigator. So when residents of Mecklenburg County dial 311 to ask for help going online, they actually get a call back from Tiffany. She explains to them the Affordable Connectivity Program, and then she walks them through the application process. And what do you know? She's good at it. After all, she knows the benefits of this program firsthand, and she'll tell you straight up that everyone needs affordable internet in today's economy. We need more people like Tiffany, more folks who can spread the word, more partners who can amplify the good that the Affordable Connectivity Program can do, and more organizations that can help us reach those in their community, in their language, in ways that are accessible for all. That's exactly what we're starting right here and now. We're building a $100 million outreach grant program at the FCC to make sure that those who are eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program actually hear about it. This is a good thing. It's also something we were told to do in the bipartisan infrastructure law. Congress specifically directed us to conduct outreach for the Affordable Connectivity Program to help ensure eligible households are enrolled. One of the ways, of course, to do this is by making grants available to those who could help with outreach efforts. I'm thrilled that we have the opportunity to make our partners, to give them the resources they need to get the word out about this program and make sure broadband reaches everyone, everywhere in this country. At the same time, I want to acknowledge that to date, the FCC has held more than 750 events to promote the Affordable Connectivity Program. We have signed up nearly 50,000 partners. We have developed material in 13 languages. This is what got us to 13 million. It's what helped us reach Tiffany White. But we have millions more to go, so let's use this outreach program to help make it happen. And for their efforts to start this grant program, I want to really thank a whole lot of people, so get ready. Allison Baker, Cheryl Callahan, Jessica Campbell, River Crane, Rashawn Duval, Joel Graham, Jody Griffith, Travis Hand, Trent Harkrader, Diane Holland, Jamil Kadre, Haley Steffen, and Keisha Woodward from the Wireline Competition Bureau, Ed Bartholomew, Miriam Montgomery, Alejandro Roark, and Joy Sears from the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. Mark Azik, Joanna Fisher, Eugene Kiselev, Julia McHenry, Eric Ralph, Dina Shetler, and Marcy Wakala from the Office of Economics and Analytics, Susan Aaron, Larry Atlas, Melina Barzilai, Andrea Kearney, Andrea Kelly, Rick Mallon, Brendan McTaggart, Linda Oliver, Bill Richardson, Paula Silberthau, Jeffrey Steinberg, Elliot Tarloff, and Xin Yu from the Office of General Counsel, Kara Grayer, Maura McGowan, and Joy Ragsdale from the Office of Communications Business Opportunities, Hillary Burchick, Sharon Diskin, and Eric Phelps from the Office of Inspector General, Pam Gallant and Mindy Littell from the Enforcement Bureau, and Sanford Williams from the Office of Managing Director. And with that, we'll proceed to a vote on the item. Commissioner Carr?
Approve.
Commissioner Starks?
Approve.
Commissioner Symington?
Approve.
And the chair votes aye. The item is adopted with editorial privileges as requested. Madam Secretary, please announce the next item on today's agenda.
Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, item 2 on your agenda is titled Your Home, Your Internet Pilot Program, and will be presented by the Wireline Competition Bureau. And once again, Trent Harkrader, Chief of the Bureau, will give the introduction.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Harkrader, you can go at it again.
Good morning again, everyone. The Wireline Competition Bureau is pleased to present for your consideration the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program order designed to increase awareness of and encourage participation in the Affordable Connectivity Program for households receiving federal housing assistance. Now, this is the part of my statement where I thank the staff, but I wanted to, with your indulgence, take a little bit of time and express my extreme appreciation for everything that this team has done and this agency has done and our administrator has done over the last year and a half. We have stood up this program twice already. You all have expressed your appreciation privately to the team and also publicly, but I also wanted to take this as an opportunity to say this has been a heavy load for everybody. There's been at great personal expense. They have spent nights and weekends working on these programs, and they do that not because of the milestones, the ambitious milestones that we in Congress set, not because there are a lot of eyes on this program, of which there are, but because this is a program with immense promise, both now and in the future. And that's what we're doing today. I couldn't have said it any better than you, Commissioner Starks. You know, it's time to go. We now have outreach on our minds, and these two items are going to be incredibly important to everything that we can do. So thank you for your indulgence, Madam Chair, for that. In addition to the Bureau that has worked on this, the Office of Economics and Analytics, sorry, Julia, the Office of the General Counsel, the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau have all provided immense input. Our administrator has also been incredibly helpful. So joining me at the table, which is certainly never big enough for everybody who contributes, are again Diane Holland, Deputy Bureau Chief, Jody Griffin and Jessica Campbell from TAPD, and Sherry Ross, our superstar attorney advisor on this. I'm also joined by Kayla Hernandez-Ulloa from CGB, who has been fantastic the last year and a half in talking to people outside the building about the importance of this program and its predecessor program. Sherry has been fantastic on this order, and we really appreciate your support. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherry.
Thank you, Trent. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. The third reporting order before you, if adopted, would establish a one-year pilot program called Your Home, Your Internet, with the goal of increasing awareness of the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP, among federal housing assistance recipients and facilitating enrollment in the program by coupling targeted outreach with hands-on application assistance. Under the supervision of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, state, local, and tribal housing authorities and other HUD partners administer federal housing assistance programs such as the Native American Affordable Housing Programs, public housing, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8 voucher, and project-based rental assistance to benefit millions of Americans, including extremely low-income families. Households that participate in these federal housing assistance programs qualify for the Affordable Connectivity Program. This order identifies discrete enhancements, improvements to the ACP application process, the effectiveness of which would be tested during the pilot program. The order also identifies existing potential strategies and activities to promote the Affordable Connectivity Program. Specifically, the pilot program would provide limited access to the National Verifier, which uses automated database connections to verify applicant eligibility to application assistance or navigators to help federal housing assistance recipients apply for the ACP benefit. The order would also invite pilot participants to propose application assistance tools and to test their effectiveness in the pilot, which the Commission will evaluate. Additionally, the order would encourage pilot applicants to submit proposals for specialized ACP materials, including promotional materials that are directed to federal housing assistance recipients and organizations. State and local housing authorities, tribal designated housing entities, other state, regional, or local government entities, and community partners are eligible to apply for the pilot. Up to $5 million would be available in the form of grants through the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program, also established today, to support activities of grant-eligible participants in the Your Home, Your Internet program. An additional amount up to $5 million will also be available to fund the Commission's own housing assistance relating outreach, including any collaboration with HUD and any other federal agencies serving federal housing assistance recipients. The Bureau recommends adoption of this order and requests editorial privileges. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear comments from the bench, starting with Commissioner Carr.
Thanks. To to paraphrase one of my friends and founding framers of this initiative, I want to foot stomp what Trent, the bureau chief, just said about all of the hard work that the commission staff has been putting in on this initiative and more broadly on all the work we've been doing the last year and a half, 2 years. It's been really impressive the amount that they've gotten done and accomplished. On this item in particular, I want to send my thanks and appreciation to Commissioner Starks for really leading the way on this, helping to point us towards the need to make more progress in exactly the areas where this pilot program is going to focus. Again, I think we have an unprecedented opportunity here to make significant progress in closing the digital divide. And we've got to be specific about how we go about this, cognizant of the different communities and needs that they have in terms of appealing and making outreach efforts. So I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some good progress out of this pilot program as well. So thanks again to the team. That's my support. And thanks to Commissioner Starks for his leadership in standing this up and coming up with the idea. So thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Starks.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The Affordable Connectivity Program has successfully supported over 13 million American households get affordable or zero-cost broadband access. Through the ACP, we have made great strides in decreasing the digital divide and ensuring that, as NAACP President Derek Johnson and I wrote last year in a joint CNN article, that no family should have to decide between putting groceries on their table or getting their household connected. And so, while we have done much, there is much more to do. At a recent White House event, President Biden announced that approximately 48 million households are eligible for ACP. Of that 48 million, and we're going to do a little math here. Of that 48 million, nearly 5 million households are eligible because they receive federal housing assistance in the United States. This includes programs such as public housing, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, commonly known as Section 8, Indian Housing Block Grant Program, Indian Community Development Block Grant Program, Title VI, Tribal HUD, VASH Program, and project-based rental assistance that benefit millions of Americans, including those extremely low-income families. Of those 5 million households, only approximately 500,000 have signed up for ACP support. Many of us are lawyers and policymakers, so I'll do the math. That's about 10%. 10% of the folks who are eligible on low-income federal housing have signed up. And so when I was looking around, there's, of course, many places where you can be eligible in order to get ACP, but this is a particular place where I think it's important that we make our mark. There is a particular nexus between housing and connectivity. And if we can help a family secure housing that they need, we should be able to help them secure an internet connection as well. We identified this issue when we adopted the ACP rules back in January. I'm thankful for all the comments and feedback the Commission received in crafting solutions that can help solve this challenge. And so today, I am extremely proud that we adopt a third report and order creating Your Home, Your Internet pilot program. Through federal housing assistance, millions of Americans have access to a home. It's time to help them take advantage of ACP. And this pilot program is guided, in my mind, by 3 steps. First, increasing awareness. Second, gaining trust. And third, executing on enrollment. That's awareness, trust, enrollment. That, I think, is our best path forward. So what will the pilot program do? It's a 1-year pilot program with the goal of increasing enrollment, expanding awareness of ACP among federal housing assistance recipients through targeted outreach, and offering assistance with navigating the enrollment process. Here's the goals in a couple different ways. First, I have met with countless advocates and housing participants across the country, both in person and virtually, and I've been collecting feedback on what we can do to improve ACP in the enrollment process. And so, meeting with housing authority leaders and their partners that have been tirelessly working here, I traveled across California earlier this year in May met with many advocates that helped inform the pilot program. In Los Angeles, I sat down with folks in the Nickerson Gardens. It's about 1,000 units of public housing in Watts. It's a great big place, a substantial share of the nearly 7,000 public housing units managed by the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, HACLA. And they have done extraordinary work there, have gotten about 78% of Nickerson Gardens units online. That's huge. They're not done. I got to sit down with somebody who just had a twinkle in her eye, Miss Chica, who was the president of the Resident Advisory Council there in Nickerson Gardens. And on the day that I visited, she was leading the way in getting her neighbors connected. Folks were out back in the community spaces offering information assistance to those who haven't signed up yet. I heard many things that day, but in terms of what we can do better, the advocates told me that many eligible applicants decline to apply because they don't believe that their housing assistance falls under the terminology on the ACP website. So there's a mismatch between housing participants and their understanding of whether they're ACP eligible. I've heard the same concerns from housing folks in Colorado, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York. And so we consulted, coordinated with HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge, Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman, and the HUD team to ensure that ACP and the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program are properly structured to be most beneficial to these eligible households. And so the result here is that the pilot program is going to change the ACP enrollment materials to facilitate smoother enrollment process. It's going to clarify that interested households, what federal housing assistance programs that are eligible to participate, and modifying this language used on our applications to more clearly state what federal housing assistance is. All of this is in coordination with HUD. We'll be making the program-wide changes that will benefit federal housing assistance, including our continued coordination to finalize a data sharing and computer matching agreement with HUD. For households receiving federal housing assistance who do have to go to manual review, the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program will include a requirement for USAC to create a template that federal housing assistance recipients may use to ensure that they're submitting the proper information. Consistency and clarity will undoubtedly help here. Second, we will be selecting up to 20 pilot participants, diverse in geography and size, to help increase ACP participation during the one-year pilot. Participants will represent urban, rural, tribal, and maybe federal government agency partners, non-federal government agency partners, third-party organizations that are serving federal housing assistance. The fact is that by empowering so many of these local organizations, those that have built relationships and are trusted by these eligible households, we are going to see the results that I'm hoping for. A recent study by Boston Consulting Group found that of 1,500 people nationwide who were supported by a digital navigator, over 65% of them obtained internet access or a computer or tablet. This is the focus on digital navigators that so many of us are talking about and are going to be so important here. As we heard, to support these efforts, we'll be offering up $5 million in grant funding for these pilot program participants. These grants will enable participants to experiment with innovative, creative ideas to achieve their goals. I'm glad that at the same time we're adopting this with the ACP grant program, and adopting these items together will ensure that the grant funding is ready to go. Third thing, I'm proud to say that we will be supporting the 20 Your Home, Your Internet pilot program participants here by allocating an additional $5 million in FCC outreach activities alongside the $5 million in the grant funding. So this will be used to collaborate with federal and other agency partners, work with those that are in federal housing assistance, and so the $10 million total will be allocated is a fantastic deposit towards reaching those eligible households that receive federal housing assistance but remain unenrolled. Take note here as well. I expect that the lessons that we learned here in this pilot program will be applicable in helping us for our more broad ACP enrollment efforts. Sherry, thank you so much for your hard work on this item. I am so happy and proud of you. I'm proud of this team. As we've heard, I deeply recognize this team has put their oar in the water and really rowed. There has been so much work, and I just could not be more proud as a commissioner, as an American, of this team. You all are going to help real Americans. I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm going to read the list of folks that I want to thank specifically here as well. It does take, yes, yes. But truly, these folks, I'm so grateful for all of their hard work, and I want them to be thanked. First, I'll thank the chairwoman for her partnership here and support in this. I could not be happier with how this turned out, and I truly, truly thank you for your partnership here. I want to thank my fellow commissioners who also have helped and worked with me on this. To the staff, from the Wireline Competition Bureau, Allison Baker, Cheryl Callahan, Jessica Campbell, Joel Graham, Jody Griffin, Trent Harkrader, Diane Holland. Jamil Kadri, Sherry Ross, Zachary Ross, Haley Steffen, Keisha Woodward, Eric Wu. From the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau, Edward Bartholomew, Zach Champ, Keila Hernandez Ulloa, thank you. Miriam Montgomery, Alejandro Rourke, Mika Severe, Joy Sears. From the Office of Economics and Analytics, Mark Azek, Joanna Pfister, Julia McHenry, Eugene Kiselev, John Peterson, and Masej Wakala. From the Office of General Counsel, Susan Aaron, Larry Atlas, Melina Barzilai, William Deaver, Michelle Ellison, Andrea Carney, Andrea Kelly, Rick Mallon, Brendan McTaggart, Linda Oliver, Bill Richardson, Jeffrey Steinberg, Elliot Tarloff, and Chin Yu. From the Office of Communication Business Opportunities, Kara Grayer, Mara McCown, and Joy Ragsdale. And from the Office of Inspector General, Hillary Burchick, Sharon Diskin, David Hunt, and Eric Phelps. Thank you all for the help.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Commissioner Symington.
Thank you. I'm happy to support this item. It targets ACP outreach at a population that is, by definition, eligible for ACP. And it's a one-year pilot that will produce valuable insight into what works and what doesn't work. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. So thank you, Commissioner Starks, for your leadership on this, and to the staff for your hard work.
Thank you. Jersey City is the second largest city in the Garden State. It's a little over 20 square miles, and it's bordered by the Hudson River, and has long served as a transportation and manufacturing hub for neighboring New York City. Public housing in Jersey City serves over 15,000 people. That's a lot. The Jersey City Housing Authority is led by Vivian Brady Phillips. She's got a big job and energy to spare. She put it to use during the pandemic to help Jersey City residents get connected. As she told us before the COVID era began, roughly 1/3 of those living in public housing had no broadband at home. So she worked with local carriers to find new ways to reach those residents and work to promote what was at first the emergency broadband benefit and later became the Affordable Connectivity Program. She even hired a digital inclusion coordinator to work with residents on a one-by-one basis to help them navigate enrollment. You see, Vivian is onto something. This is what it takes to connect a community. This is what helps households at risk of falling on the wrong side of the digital divide. So let's take that approach and do it at national scale. Because by statute, everyone receiving federal housing assistance is eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Program. But we know so many of these households are still unserved. That's why today we're creating this special pilot program to develop creative ways to reach this population, just like what we saw in Jersey City. We're committing $10 million to this effort because we know there are millions of households residing in these communities that could benefit from the Affordable Connectivity Program. This pilot program, which we are calling Your Home, Your Internet, would not be happening today without the leadership of Commissioner Starks. He saw very clearly that this was an underserved population They were called out in the law, and they needed special focus. So let me call out Commissioner Starks right here and now. I'm grateful for his efforts, both for what he did to help get this program going and for what he will do going forward to ensure that it is a success. In fact, I'm actually more excited for the good things that are going to come from it and from his continued leadership in this area. So thank you to my colleague and friend. I also want to thank our partners in this effort, and there are a lot of them, folks who are working at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, because what we're doing here today is just the start. We're already looking at ways to work together more closely, and that's already yielded some results, including improvements to the application process for those in public housing and expanded access to verifier systems to help facilitate enrollment. So stay tuned, there's more to come. With respect to thanking the staff, I'm just going to say what he said. And just say that we're really, really grateful for your efforts. And with that, we will proceed to a vote on the item. Commissioner Carr.
Approve.
Commissioner Starks.
Approve.
Commissioner Symington.
Approve.
The chair votes aye. The item is adopted with editorial privileges as requested. Madam Secretary, please announce the next item on today's agenda.
Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, item 3 on your agenda is titled Space Innovation, Facilitating Capabilities for In-Space Servicing, Assembly, and Manufacturing, and will be presented by the International Bureau. Tom Sullivan, Acting Chief of the Bureau, will give the introduction.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Sullivan, please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners. I'm pleased to introduce the International Bureau's latest efforts to facilitate innovation for space-based services. Today, we recommend the Commission adopt a notice of inquiry that would create a comprehensive and up-to-date record on how the Commission can best facilitate in-space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, also known as ISAM. I'd like to thank the team in the International Bureau for their work on this item, as well as my colleagues in the Office of Economics and Analytics, Office of Engineering and Technology, Office of General Counsel, and the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau. With me at the table today are Patrick Weber, Deputy Chief of the International Bureau, Carl Kensinger, Chief of the Satellite Division, and Marissa Velez, Chief of the Satellite Division's Satellite Policy Branch. Marissa will present the item.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners. Before you is a draft notice of inquiry that examines the opportunities and challenges of in-space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, or ISAM. Missions in this category can include inspecting and repairing in-orbit spacecraft, capturing and removing debris, and transforming materials through manufacturing while in space. In particular, the notice of inquiry would seek comment on the status of ISAM, where the industry is today, how the Commission can best support its sustainable development, and what tangible economic and societal benefits may result from development of these capabilities. ISAM missions have the potential to transform the space economy. At the same time, ISAM activities may create new opportunities and challenges for the sustainability of the outer space environment. This draft notice of inquiry would seek to develop a record on how the Commission might facilitate these novel and innovative activities. In particular, the notice of inquiry would seek comment on current ISAM activities that may involve Commission licensing, and on what steps the Commission might take to facilitate progress and reduce barriers for such activities, including clarifications, modifications, or updates to our licensing rules and processes. It would seek comment on possible spectrum needs for the various types of ISAM activities, as well as whether any modifications or adaptations of our rules on orbital debris mitigation may be appropriate to address and facilitate ISAM missions. It would also seek comment on orbital debris remediation, a subcategory of ISAM missions that offers the prospect of improving the orbital debris environment. Finally, the draft notice of inquiry would seek to develop a record on any unique regulatory issues presented by ISAM activities beyond Earth's orbit, and on possible means to promote growth, innovation, and development in ISAM missions. The International Bureau recommends adoption of this notice of inquiry and requests editorial privileges for technical and conforming edits. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear comments from the bench. Commissioner Carr.
Thanks so much to the team for all the work on this item. It has my support. Look forward to moving this. There's obviously a lot of very important things happening in space right now, and it's important that the FCC plays its part in making sure that all of that activity continue to take place. It's got a lot of jobs component, economic opportunity component. So happy that we're moving forward here. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Starks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. We've heard for years that a new in-space economy was right around the corner. Just one more breakthrough or R&D cycle, and it would be within our reach. But space innovation is anything but straightforward. No one, not even the experts, can predict exactly where it will take us and by when. But what is evident right now is the incredible pace of progress we're seeing in commercial space. Reusable rockets, palm-sized satellites, private human spaceflight, both suborbital and to the ISS, low-cost, high-res imaging, at least 4 private space stations under U.S. development, broadband beaming from LEO and MEO as we speak. At this rate of achievement, when will new frontiers, like in-space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, finally hit full speed? I can't give you a date certain. I don't think anyone can. But what I can tell you is this: I think you bet against the U.S. space industry at your own risk. And so that's why I am proud to support today's notice of inquiry. The FCC remains the only agency to license virtually every commercial space mission that touches the United States. And with that power comes the responsibility to understand the missions we authorize and create an enabling regulatory environment that opens new doors while still protecting against risks. Today's action will help us build the record we need to fully understand emerging ISAM technologies and their spectrum requirements, debris implications, and how best to situate them within our licensing framework. It's a critical step towards adopting policies that encourage ISAM development and keep the U.S. at the forefront of space innovation. As we move forward, we must, of course, keep the dialogue going with our other agencies. I know that experts at NASA, DoD, Commerce, here at the Commission, elsewhere in the government, have been working together on ISAM issues, and that we now have, of course, a national strategy to show for that effort. So we need to keep it up, but these are complex technologies that affect not just interference in space operating environments, but national security, economic competitiveness, and the fundamental sustainability of space exploration. And I'm proud of the expertise we've built up on space issues space policy issues in this building, including on what we're achieving here today. Thank you to the Bureau for the hard work on this item. It has my support.
Commissioner Symington.
Thank you. I am pleased to approve today's notice, and I also thank my colleagues for agreeing to include questions about the state-of-the-art technology in active debris remediation and removal. Today's NOI takes a significant step in asserting U.S. leadership in the emerging space economy, just as space activities rapidly accelerate new opportunities in multiple industries. I believe it is important that the FCC take an active role in implementing the interagency ISAM national strategy to improve the way we use space for in-space and terrestrial operations. I also applaud the NOI's thoughtful consideration of FCC efforts in the orbital debris NPRM proceeding. It's crucial that as we consider crafting orbital debris mitigation rules for U.S. satellite service providers, that we ensure the same or similar obligations apply to ISAM providers and other space operators. Specifically, the NOI asks essential questions about the orbital debris mitigation and remediation implications of ISAM activities, including what the FCC should do, for example, about potential debris created by byproducts from in-space assembly and manufacturing. As the NOI states, and I agree, the FCC should consider both updates to our orbital debris mitigation rules that would help to address such risks and additional or modified disclosure requirements for ISAM providers. I look forward to a robust record in response to this NOI. Thank you to the staff of International Bureau for their very hard work on this important item, and of course it has my support.
Thank you, Commissioners. A new space age is here. In our far skies, we have new commercial markets, new market entrants, and new technologies pioneering a new range of satellite services and space-based activities. It's exciting, and at the FCC we've taken note, because today we are opening a new docket for space innovation. The first step in this effort, or giant leap, is the inquiry we introduced today. We believe the new space age needs new rules because Here on the ground, the regulatory frameworks we rely on to shape space policy, they were largely built for another era. They were designed for a time when going to space was astronomically expensive and limited to the prowess of our political superpowers. No one imagined commercial space tourism taking hold. No one believed crowd-funded satellites or mega constellations at low Earth orbit were truly possible. And no one could have conceived of the sheer popularity of space entrepreneurship. But it's all happening. And if we are going to promote United States leadership in the emerging space economy, we need to make sure our rules are prepared for the proliferation of satellites in orbit and new activities in our higher altitudes. In short, we have work to do. And it starts with this inquiry. We are, for the first time, developing a record to support in-space servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, or ISAM. ISAM includes a whole range of in-space activities, including repairing and refueling satellites, and even assembling whole new systems while in orbit. If we can do these things at scale, we can build new industries that advance scientific frontiers and our national security priorities. They can mean the furthest development of an economy both in space and for space. That's a big deal. It's why in April, the White House announced a new strategy for stimulating the development of ISAM capabilities here in the United States, and with this new inquiry, we are all in. Of course, as we promote space innovation, we need to promote safety and responsibility. That is why this inquiry also considers how ISAM capabilities can lead to the development of new ways to clean up orbital debris. After all, there are thousands of metric tons of junk in space that, if left unaddressed, will constrain these new opportunities in the skies above, and ISAM could help improve this environment. Finally, I want to note that while this is the inaugural effort in this new space innovation docket, it comes on the heels of our decision just earlier this week to free up more spectrum in the 17 gigahertz band to support growing demand for space-based services. This, in turn, is preceded by action to identify spectrum for commercial space launches, efforts to clear the way for more satellite operators in the 50.4 to 51.4 gigahertz band, review of our processing round rules for satellite systems in order to encourage more competition, and new opportunities in the V-band to provide service nationwide. That's a lot. And to keep up with it all, we have increased the size of the agency division responsible for satellite matters by 38%. So thank you to the staff who worked on this inaugural effort in our space innovation docket, and I know there's more to come. So thank you in particular to Morgan Armstrong, Kertisha Banks, Kara Kavanaugh, Jamie Ann Fuller, Carl Kensinger, Adrian McNeil, Bridget Mendler, Thomas Sullivan, Troy Tanner, Marissa Velez, and Patrick Weber from the International Bureau. Michael Ha, Nicholas Oros, Jameson Prime, Ron Rapazzi, Anthony Serafini, and Thomas Struble from the Office of Engineering and Technology, Linda Chang, Rodney Conway, Robert Krinsky, George Laris, and Peter Trachtenberg from the Wireless Telecommunications Bureau, Patrick Brogan, Patrick DeGarba, Rachel Kazan, Catherine Matraves, Mark Montano, Michelle Schaefer, Emily Talaga, and Alex Yankovich from the Office of Economics and Analytics, and Douglas Klein, David Konskow, and William Richardson from the Office of General Counsel. And with that, we will proceed to a vote on the item. Commissioner Carr.
Approve.
Commissioner Starks.
Approve.
Commissioner Symington.
Approve.
All right, the chair votes aye. This item is adopted with editorial privileges as requested. Would any of my colleagues like to make announcements at this time? Commissioner Carr, we'll start with you.
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right, he's silent. Commissioner Starks, how about you?
Yes, a couple, Madam Chairwoman. Wanted to say farewell to my exceptionally bright legal interns. I hope you've had a great summer. Lex Desotel, Minerva Gomez, Shiva, who's here today, and Case Smith. They truly brought real energy, enthusiasm to work in my office, work here at the commission, and you are a tremendous asset. To each of you, good luck with what I think is your second year of law school coming up, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Also wanted to say, of course, as many of you know, I already issued a prior announcement, say farewell, of course, to Austin Bonner, who you all know left my office last month. Luckily for all of us, with my American citizen hat on here, Austin is continuing to put her many talents to work in public service. She is now the Spectrum and Telecom Policy Lead at the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy, OSTP, for you Washington insiders. I'm glad she's going to continue her government service. She will be deeply missed for myriad reasons in my office and, of course, here at the FCC. But I'd like to introduce Hannah Lee Powell, my new legal advisor for media and consumer protection. She attended Columbia University for undergraduate, attended Columbia for law school, so many a day in Morningside Height there. She joins the office coming from the law firm of Covington here in town, where earlier this year she was named a Law 360 Rising Star in telecommunications. She is just that. She's wasted no time in hitting the ground running. I know she's met many of you. She's looking forward to working with you. Hannah, please stand. That's Hannah. Thank you. Welcome to the team.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Symington.
Thank you. No announcements at this time.
All right. I have a few brief ones. First, to retirement. For over 26 years, Claudia Fox has been an attorney at the FCC. Here's a story. When I started here, she was an attorney who had more paper in her office than anyone else and more facts in her head. She was intimidating because of both of those things, but for all the right reasons, because she would lend a hand to any junior staffer, answer any question. She is one of those people who defines public service at this agency, and she is off to retire. So let me tell you a little more about her career. She worked most recently in the Wireline Competition Bureau's Telecommunications Access Policy Division, but actually she got her start in the predecessor to that bureau, which was then called the Common Carrier Bureau, back in 1995, where she worked on the early competition and broadband initiatives. From there, she moved to the International Bureau, where as Deputy Division Chief of the Policy Division, she helped develop and administer rules for international telecommunications facilities and look over merger transactions that involved foreign ownership. She also worked at the Office of Strategic Policy, assisted in developing universal service telehealth pilot programs, and she was an associate division chief in the newly created Public Safety and Homeland Security Bureau. And then back in 2009, she returned to the Wireline Competition Bureau, which is more or less where she got her start. And she's worked on universal service policies there ever since. Her expertise is not going to be easily replaced, but we wish Claudia only good things in retirement. Next, I want to talk a little bit more about the Your Home, Your Internet ACP partnership with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. As I mentioned in my statement, we are really working hand in hand to make sure that this is a program that can grow. And we've already hit the ground running because we are talking to them right now about on-site enrollment fairs. We are exploring how to integrate their systems with our national verifier to make sure enrollment happens as smoothly as possible. And we're working with the Housing and Urban Development's existing Connect Home program to figure out how we can multiply our resources and multiply the progress we make with this population. So there's more good to come on that. And again, thank you, Commissioner Starks, for your work and leadership in this area. All right, Madam Secretary, can you announce the next date for the Commission's monthly agenda meeting?
The next agenda meeting of the Federal Communications Commission is Thursday, September 29th, 2022.
Until then, we stand adjourned.
Good morning, everyone. I did say good morning, just if anyone wants to say it back. Sorry, some energy in this room. It's August 5th, it's Friday. You know, start off on a high note. But hi, everyone. Paloma Perez, Press Secretary for the FCC. We'll be getting started in a couple of minutes. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. Any private conversations, please take those outside of the room. One question per reporter. If you'd be so kind to name your outlet before you ask, that'd be really helpful for us on the media tracking side. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Chairwoman Rosenworcel.
Thank you so much, Paloma. It is still a treat to be able to do this in person, so thank you all for being here. We've actually had a really big week at the agency. We kicked off the next 5G auction in the 2.5 gigahertz band. I signed a historic update to our Memorandum of Understanding on Spectrum Policy with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, the first time we've agreed to new procedures in 2 decades. We also just kicked off an exciting inquiry on space technology here, and I think we've done some really extraordinary work when it comes to getting the unconnected connected in the United States through the Affordable Connectivity Program and the new grant programs that we committed to establishing today on a bipartisan basis are also going to do more good, getting more people connected in more places. So exciting times here in the dog days of summer at the FCC. And with that, let's go ahead.
Is that working? Okay. I just had a two-part question. One on your comment about spectrum. Obviously, you've got a lot of spectrum you want to auction, and you're starting with this one. In light of what happened with the FAA and the whole issue that led to the dispute between aviation, the telecoms, and the memo you just signed, so how confident are you that going forward we're not going to see the types of disputes about spectrum that we saw a few months ago?
Well, the first thing you do is you memorialize how you want to resolve these disputes in the future. And I think 2 noteworthy things that are in that updated Memorandum of Understanding are this. First, there's a commitment to much more long-term spectrum planning, both at the principal level and at the staff level. In addition, there's an acknowledgement that spectrum policy issues are more than just the reallocation of federal airwaves. There can be reallocations that affect other federal equities or adjacent federal spectrum. So we've expanded the discussion to include those things, and I think that's going to help us a lot going forward.
And to follow up, it's now been 17 months since the commission's been deadlocked 2-2 for upwards of a year and a half. Obviously, that's not something you control, but how frustrating is it that you still don't have full control of the commission, that you can't advance proceedings and priorities that can only be done with a full slate of commissioners?
Well, I very much want this to be a 5-member commission sooner rather than later, but I also am very proud of the work we've been able to get done as a 4-member commission, and I think today's meeting is really a good example of that.
Good morning, Chairwoman. So with the USF report that's due to Congress next week, I believe next Friday, I understand the items on circulation right now. Could you talk a little bit about what you're hoping to relay in that report ultimately, where you'd like to see, for example, contribution reform going, any insight that you can provide on that report?
It's still under discussion. I think we're going to be able to have more detail after we release it next week, so you'll have to hold on for now.
Madam Chairwoman, thanks for the opportunity. Matt Daneman, Communications Daily. A two-parter, if I can cheat. With the ISAM NOI that was adopted today, do you foresee other sort of emerging space activities like mining or private sector space stations also being subject to FCC inquiries and docket refresh in the future? Part 2 of my question, where are you personally on opening up the 12 gigahertz band used by SATCOM for 5G use?
Okay, well, we'll start with the second one. The 12 gigahertz docket is one of the most active at the agency. I think it was just 2 weeks ago we got a new engineering report from DirecTV. As we get all of these engineering reports, we're asking our Office of Engineering and Technology to take a very close look. We want to make sure that these airwaves continue to be useful and that they are not subject to interference that limits their viability going forward. This is, as far as I'm concerned, an engineering matter, and so we are relying on our Office of Engineering and Technology to review those, what's being filed, and to help show us the way forward. It's a busy, busy docket. ISAM, what's interesting about ISAM is that it implicates a bunch of things. What kind of orbital debris could it generate? What kind of orbital debris could this technology assist in cleaning up, because you have in-space capabilities? We also ask, if you decide to grow ISAM activities, does that implicate spectrum policies associated with satellite systems? I think those are the basic questions associated with developing new inquiries for new technology in in the space economy. Those inquiries applied to this ISAM situation. We'll look at other technologies as they come along to make sure that those kind of things, if they need policies, rules, or frameworks, we'll be in the best position to address them.
Hey, John Hendel with Politico. Following the MOU signed this week, I wanted to ask a little bit about the talk of a national spectrum strategy. NTIA has mentioned a few times that they've really wanted to put one together. They've talked about working with the FCC for that. Just wanted to ask how you see kind of the FCC role in that process, and if there's any thought about what that might look like over the next few months, year, or if you and Mr. Davidson have talked about that yet.
Absolutely. There's a lot of discussion at the principal level and the staff level about what that would look like. We're doing a lot of work to convey our thoughts as an agency. We are the agency that oversees commercial spectrum activity in the United States. And we are keenly aware that when you increase access to commercial spectrum, you can help increase the modern digital economy. So we are playing a big role in making sure that that discussion happens and that interests from the FCC are represented in what we eventually do produce.
Hi, Chairwoman. Law 360. Just wanted to ask a legislative question. Could you talk about your confidence level in getting at least a short-term extension of Spectrum Auction Authority? And also paired with that, how would a lapse affect the ongoing 2.5 gigahertz auction?
I'm confident that the 2.5 gigahertz band auction can proceed under Section 309J of the statute. The only limitation is on the ultimate issuance of license. And it takes some time for us to conduct an auction and then some time for us to review the winning bidders and assess what we have on file afterwards. That activity typically takes several months, so I am not concerned at all. But I do think it is important to note that the last reauthorization was a long one. It provides stability for the agency. And something that I think is really important is that when we authorize the auction of our public airwaves, I hope that Congress will consider making those revenues available for public safety uses. And by that, I specifically mean using auction revenues to support a nationwide upgrade to next generation 911. I know that's under discussion in Congress. It's something that I am fully in favor of because I think it's really important that we see those upgrades all across the country. Those are some of the most important calls you ever make to 911, and using the auction of public airwaves to support public safety makes a lot of sense to me.
Good morning, Sanya Rao with CTFN. This week there was an article about a potential merger between satellite operators SES and Intelsat. So I was hoping you can talk to us on your thoughts on the deal and industry consolidation.
I too saw some of those reports, but I don't have anything to add to the discussion at this time.
Lynn Stanton, Telecommunications Reports. I'm going to try and sneak in a two-parter here. They're both on timing and broadband, so maybe it won't seem like it's too bad. Yesterday, there was a bipartisan, bicameral Plan for Broadband Act introduced, and it has some deadlines, and the implementation plan for all of this is 16 months out. And I was wondering if you think that's kind of a long time frame, considering some of this money's going to already be gone out the door before all these agencies are looking at rules for sending the money out the door. And the second part is on broadband adoption with the Affordable Connectivity Program. You've already spent more than half of what was allocated, and I'm wondering with this outreach, whether you had any thoughts on how much longer the program's going to last, is this, what this outreach could do to the sort of the projection on that?
With respect to what was allocated, I want the Bureau to follow up with you on that to make sure that those numbers are correct. I have, I'm not certain that what you just said, I don't think it's accurate,
Okay.
but we can see if we can follow up on that. With respect to broadband, we're at an incredible moment in time as we have recognized in Washington that broadband is no longer a luxury good. It is a necessity for everyone, everywhere. As a result, we have more programs to support broadband adoption and deployment than ever before, more funds going towards broadband adoption and deployment than ever before, and more need for coordination between all of those actors than ever before. I think the legislation you saw just reflects that. And I think particularly as we start to see funding flow from these new programs, having a national assessment like that is a good idea.
Thank you.
Maddie with the Well News, and so I want to follow up on today's actions with the outreach programs. And so, how are you guys working to, expand all of those outreach programs, and why is this important for you guys to be able to specifically reach public housing?
Okay, so you're asking specifically about puzzle?
Yeah.
Well, we know that there are millions of households that are served by public housing, and when we do assessments, we find that the uptake rate for this program is relatively low. So we know that they automatically qualify. There is a population that is unserved. They're eligible for this program. We want to be able to explore new ways of reaching that community that are totally local, because I think there's a lot of good that can be done if we make sure we get those households connected for work, for job opportunities, for school, for their children's schooling, for health care, for keeping up with your community in every way. This program is available right now, so we'd like to make sure it does more good for those households that are in public housing. And I think that this program, having this pilot for 1 year, is a way to test the most effective ways to reach that population. I think that's important. Yeah. All right. Thank you all.
Thanks. In this case, I'm going to call up my colleague Katie Gorsak, who's going to be leading the Bureau presser, and I won't be seeing you on the podium until late September. So, leave you, Katie.
Have a good August and September.
All right, I'm going to have to adjust this. I apologize to everybody else who's tall after me. Okay, so time for the Bureau presser. So we are going to be covering items voted on during today's meeting. So we're going to start off with the second report in order for the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program. So are there any questions on that item? Great. All right, so WCB and CGB folks, if you could come on up.
Not sure if I should wait.
No, we're good.
Okay. So
If I really need help, I'll look at Alejandro and scream.
So I have two questions. First, if you could clarify, is there going to be a specific bureau that's taking the lead on either the outreach grant or the pilot program? If not, how are all the bureaus going to make sure that there's good coordination on that? And then the other question is, could you just also clarify what the timeline will look like for when organizations can start applying for these grants? Is the application process itself finalized, or is that still something that you're working on as well?
Yeah, so we will continue to work very closely with our colleagues in the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau. We have been working closely with them throughout this, through the last year and a half, really. They've been instrumental in helping us with our outreach, both before there was these items, how to talk to folks, making sure that things on our website made sense to people who are applying to this program. And we will continue with that. They will take the lead on the outreach grants program. With certainly, policy guidance and advice from the Wireline Bureau. And then for the Navigator pilot, as well as Commissioner Stark's Your Home, Your Internet pilot, we will work together on getting that. There are obviously overlaps between the grant programs and those pilots in terms of funding, but also we want to make sure that we are making the best use of the grant funding as it goes out the door. With respect to, what was your second question? Sorry.
On the timeline for the application process, has that been finalized? When do you expect to open up that application portal for grants?
So it has not been finalized yet, but we're working very quickly. The next step for the grant program will be a notice of funding opportunity. There are some PRA type restrictions that where we have to wait a little bit of time before we can do that. We also have to build the system, but that's going to be coming out very soon. And so I can't give you a timeline, but this is, as always with everything ACP, it's a watch this space because it's going to happen quickly. And the same with the pilots as well. You know, the next steps there will be additional information from the Bureau about how to apply, what is expected in the application. And you'll see a little bit, you know, sorry, I know you have another question, but I'm rolling, so. You'll see a little bit in the item today, you know, a lot of the conversations that we were having with the offices over the past couple of weeks about the grant item in particular was putting more certainty in there so that applicants can look at that and see what's expected.
Okay, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood you right. So on, you know, coming out soon, are you hopeful within like the next month, 2 months, by the end of this year that at least applicants will be able to submit applications? You're hopeful for that timeline, or?
Absolutely, in the next couple of months.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm still on, sorry. Lynn Stanton, TR Daily. So do you have a sense of what the timeline between opening up, putting out the NOFO and opening up, and then closing that and actually making decisions, whether that's a 2-month process, a 6-month process?
I think it would be closer to a 2-month process, but we want to see what the applications look like. We also, when we put the NOFO out, we want to be ready at that exact moment to accept applications. We don't want there to be any sort of lead time, but we are very optimistic that we're going to get a lot of really quality applications, and so maybe that will make our job both easier and harder. But we know we need to move quickly. You know, these are short-term pilots. These grant programs these grant funding needs to go out the door because it's urgent. Like everything associated with the Affordable Connectivity Program, it's urgent that we move quickly, and we will do that here as well.
And this isn't exactly on the item, but I had gotten confused. I don't know if you heard my question to the chairwoman. I was looking for how much money's been spent so far, and I followed a USAC links, and I ended up in the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program instead of the ACP. Can you tell me how much money's been expended so far from the?
I can. So in the Affordable Connectivity Program, which started, I was about to say January 1st, but it started on December 31st. Happy New Year's to everyone. Since that time, we've spent about $2.7 billion. The EBB program, which was the previous 6 or 7 months before that, roughly doubled that. And so that answers that question.
Thanks very much.
Sure. We good? Thanks.
Just want to make sure, were there any on the Your Home, Your Internet pilot program? I know we kind of covered both, but just want to make sure we're all square there. Okay, you can go, Trent. All right, we'll move on to our third item, which is the notice of inquiry from the International Bureau on Space Innovation. Matt's got a question, so come on up, IB.
Matt Danneman, Com Daily. I just didn't want Tom to feel left out.
Thank you. I always appreciate that.
It's a sort of two-part question about the NOI. Timing for comments. I mean, obviously, there's the publication in the Federal Register and such, but realistically, do you expect this will be a this year kind of process, or is it longer? Are we talking into 2023 when the comments cycle will start for the NOI? And second part of this, why was the NOI specifically about ISAM as opposed to broader emerging space technologies in general, encompassing other stuff like space mining, et cetera? Why that narrow focus just on ISAM? Is there an anticipation of doing something else on others? Thank you.
Well, I think we answering your second part first, and then maybe I'll have some of the team talk about the comment deadlines and when we expect to hear those comments come in. I think we view the ISAM NOI as a rather broad interpretation of space activities that the Commission is seeking comment on about how best we might need to amend, change, modify our rules in response to these ongoing emerging space activities. Although ISAM might be a subset of them, I think we're thinking of this in a more comprehensive manner, and certainly open to other engagements from stakeholders if they want to bring other issues before us as well. Yeah, and you referenced the chairwoman noted that she's starting a space innovation docket for us. So I think, there's certainly more to come from space activities from the commission and the chairwoman. Anyone want to opine on comments in terms of when we see things?
So I think the comment deadlines that are contemplated would fall within this year. So we would be sort of through the cycle by the end of the year. Yep.
Carl Kensinger, Chief.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions on the IB item? No? Okay. Well, this will conclude our Bureau Presser. I don't see any other commissioners here, but I will pause for Commissioner Carr's staff, and thank you all so much. Appreciate it.